So Ninja Jedi 85 says, what are 10 things I should have in order to start a campaign? So I would probably say for number one, come up with an adventure idea. When you're coming up with an adventure idea, this is when you decide kind of, hey, whether you want this campaign to be a plot-driven campaign or a character-based campaign or a character-driven campaign, A plot-driven campaign is typically akin to modules of the sorts where there is there's an overarching goal, there's an overarching theme of what the players are trying to strive to or what goal the players are trying to strive towards throughout the entirety of this adventure. A character-driven campaign is more akin to like you all will meet up in just a random portion of the world. You guys will meet each other. You guys have your own goals, your own motivations, and your whole entire story arcs built into your backstories, right? And the campaign, will have a bunch of side quests and things to sort of string you along as an adventuring party, but eventually you're going to be going on entire arcs and story beats based off of those characters' backstories. For example, I may have an arc where I'm going to go try to focus on figuring out or having one character try to figure out what happened to their family, who killed their family and who was responsible for it. So they're going to go on a whole arc and a quest, a mission to go find them. That's a character-driven campaign, rather than a story-based plot-driven campaign, which is more like, oh, we need to start a revolution and we need to overthrow the king. That's a plot-driven campaign. You see what I mean? So that's number one. Come up with an adventure idea, figure out what you want to do, but also when you're coming up with an adventure idea, make sure to get all the players involved in that sort of process. You want to make sure that you ask your players what they want to play because, well, funny enough, it kind of answered it for me. The players are playing the game, yourself included, so you want to make sure not only you're having fun running whatever you're going to run, but also you need to make sure that the players are going to have fun with the game. So that's one easy tip for sure. Schedule a session 0 and schedule a session 0 and start scheduling like a time of play, right? I think that's very, very important. So I have a whole video on scheduling D&D issues. I'll probably post it in chat in a minute. But you need to figure out a day and a time that you're going to be running the game. You don't want to have to go into this sort of thing where we're going to play maybe Monday at 4 p.m. and then afterwards we're going to go into 8 p.m. on a Tuesday and then maybe we're going to play on a Sunday at 12 in the morning or 2 in the morning or something like that. You don't want to do that. Schedule a day, schedule a time that you guys that most of you guys can play and stick with it and don't sort of deteriorate or alter. A lot of times, you guys know this, a lot of the time whenever D&D games get started, the number one killer to D&D is scheduling issues. So make sure you get a schedule like down pat, make sure you stick with it and keep going from there and play some D&D. That'd be number two. Number 3 would probably be run your session 0. Run your session 0. Now, session 0 is probably the most important. This kind of is I'm going to piggyback off of what I just said here, but you need to figure out what all of your players are comfortable with, and you need to know what you're able and expected to be running in this game. Whether it be like things of like you're going over the things that you're not going to do and you're not going to run and what is not okay in the game table, or whether it's going to be things that are perfectly fine and that you're going to be able to run all the time for who knows how long, You need to decide what those things are going to be and then stick with them. That may be in the form of making a social contract or whatever, but just make sure you do it and make sure you stick with it. And also be sure to every now and again check in, like this is a little bit further down the line, during the campaign, be sure to check in on your session and have a session 0 in the middle of the campaign. Don't be afraid to do that. I think they're called like session 0.5s or something like that. I don't remember. But sometimes you may end up having where some contract or some part of the agreement that you agreed to, it's not sort of doing it and you need to sort of rework it and you need to sort of adjust it to maybe be a little bit more strict or maybe be a little bit more loose. Whatever it may be, just make sure to actually, check it out and make sure to run it and do a session 0 where you go over all those things in the first place. The next thing I would probably say this is a little bit different, but a lot of people have their different ways of sort of planning stuff. And fleshing out world building and implementing backstories and stuff like this. So this is something that I personally do. I would say after your session 0, make sure you got all your players' backstories done, but then implement them into the world and flesh the world around the fact of their backstories, flesh it out around it. So you don't need to necessarily, you can maybe come up with an outline of the world or outline of the idea, nothing more than like a paragraph or so. And then once the players give you their backstories, then what you can do is you can decide, all right, cool. So this player is a paladin, they're a knight, and they wanted to be the best dragon slayer of the world. So then afterwards, you sort of decide to flesh out, okay, maybe there's a dragon hunting sect. Maybe there's a group of paladins that worship a certain god that are all sort of devoted to slaying dragons and more. And then you end up fleshing out, okay, why does this sect want to kill the dragons? Why does the dragons are dangerous and all this other stuff? You know, you flesh the world around them and you build out from there. That's a highly recommended thing that I like to do. And it's not for everybody, but I just enjoy doing it that way, you know. This is a very simplistic one, but figure out what VTT you're going to use or what style of play you're going to use, whether that is in person or online play. So if you're going to play in person, figure out how to run the best game that you possibly can in person. So that would be, you don't have to do this, but this is just like tips and things that I would want to do. So make sure you have maybe even table aids, props, like material things that you can sort of hand out to the players and sort of really immerse them into the game. Flesh it out to the point where it doesn't feel like you're just playing D&D. It feels like that you are experiencing something and you are a part of it and you have a say in this grand epic tale of or collaborative storytelling. Do something like that. Make sure to try to make it as immersive as possible if you're playing in person. And the same thing goes for if you're playing online. I would probably say figure out which VTT or virtual tabletop you're going to use, if any, and then afterwards really try to master it as much as you can. I'm talking seek out different ways and tips and techniques of how different modules sort of work if you're using like Foundry, or how different functionalities sort of work, and make sure you're on your stuff technically or on a technical level, but also on just like a creative sort of level of you being able to come up and sort of implement these crazy cool little kooky ideas so you and your party can enjoy them or enjoy yourselves to the fullest. Highly recommend it. And even if you can, it doesn't have to be like a certain thing that you do every single time, but maybe it could be just like once a week you can try to watch a YouTube video on how to improve yourself and how you run your games on Foundry VTT or Roll20 or whatever, you know, just maybe learning one small shortcut or a little tip. Highly recommend it. So again, number 5, master your style of play. If that's the case, master your VTT or master your in-person storytelling and D&D skills. So those are 5 tips to essentially that I would probably look towards doing before I run and start a campaign. So hopefully that was at least a little bit helpful to you, Ninja Jedi, and hopefully you got a little bit of value out of that. Oh man.